Alrighty, welcome back to the Wild Robot Escapes. We're on chapter 40. And remember, in our last chapter, Bright Bill came to visit. And the kids are going to come up with a plan to help Rose escape. Here we go. Chapter 40, The Instincts. The next few days were a blur. Rose rushed through her daily tasks so she could have more time with the flock. The geese talked about Chit Chat the squirrel and the beaver family and the other animals on the island. Rose talked about the robot factory and the Sharifs and life on the farm. Sorry. But the geese were always aware of their instincts, calling them back to the warm wintering grounds. And when they awoke one morning to find the countryside dusted with snow, they knew it was time to go. By some miracle, Rose and Brightbill had been reunited, and now they had to say goodbye all over again. The flock stood in the pasture with Rose as the children in the herd looked on. Brightbill fluttered to his mother's shoulder and wrapped his wings around her face. "I'll return in the spring," said the goose, "and then you and I are going to find our way home." "Please be careful," said the robot. "I do not want to lose you again." "We'll keep your son out of trouble," squawked Loudwing with a smile. The geese waved goodbye to Rose and their new farm friends. Then Brightbill shook his tail feathers, beat his wings, and led the flock into the sky. Chapter 41, Winter. When Rose lived on the island, winter had seemed like one long, cruel blizzard. On Hilltop Farm, though, winter wasn't quite so harsh. The temperature fell, but then rose. Storms came and then they went. Snow piled up and then it melted away. Rose spent winter preparing the farm for spring. She wanted everything to be perfect for when they left. She tuned up the machines. She made fertilizer from old grass clippings and manure. She planned which crops would be seeded in which fields. She carefully looked over the herd, making sure each cow was happy and healthy. She made long lists of supplies, and then Mr. Sharif placed big orders. The herding machine hauled bales of hay into the pasture, and the cows gathered around to eat, steam puffing from their mouths. Some of the cows were dried off and wouldn't be milked again until after the calving season. Others went to the milking parlor twice a day as usual. Bottles were filled, boxes were loaded, and milk trucks rolled away on its next delivery run. No matter the season, the dairy farm kept chugging along. Every day after school, Jaya and Jad ran to their bedrooms and got right to their homework. And when their homework was finished, their secret studies began. They researched the design and construction and maintenance of Rosum robots, hoping to discover some way for Rose to safely escape. The information wasn't easy to find, but the children were persistent, and after weeks of work, they finally found what they were looking for. Chapter 42, titled The Plan. Jaya pressed a button on the side of the milking parlor and the door hummed open. She and her brother stepped inside and wound their way past gleaming pipes and tanks and over to where Rose was cleaning some equipment. "We found a diagram of your design," said Jaya. "We think we can help you escape." "The problem is your transmitter," said Jad. "That's the device that sends out your electrical signal. If we can remove your transmitter, you'll be able to run away whenever you want without anyone tracking you." "Do you know how to remove it?" asked Rose. "I think so," the boy chuckled nervously, "but we won't know for sure until we open you up and take a look." "We'll have to do it late at night," said Jaya, "when Dad is sleeping." "We just need to find a place where we can work in private," said Jad, rubbing his chin. "How about the old barn?" said Rose. It is quiet and hidden. I can prepare the barn today, and you can operate on me tonight." Everyone agreed, and the plan was set. Chapter 43: The Operation. Midnight, and the children were wide awake in their beds. Jaya and Jad were waiting for their father to fall asleep. Once he was snoring deeply, they tiptoed past his bedroom, down the stairs, and out the back door. They crept across the farm to a cluster of trees, and there was the old barn, looming above the undergrowth like a mountain. Its door was cracked open just a bit, and a wedge of light spilled outside. The children closed the door behind them and walked past wooden railings and stairways and up a ramp to a platform in the back corner of the barn. Lanterns hung from the walls and cast their soft light upon a large table. Standing behind the table was the robot. "Hello, children," said Rose. "How do you like our operating room?" "It's a little dark," said Jaya, "but it'll work." Jad pulled his computer from his pocket. As he brought up the diagram of Rose's body, his face tightened with worry. "We've never done anything like this before." "Just do your best," said Rose, patting him on the back. "That is all I can ask of you." The robot unfastened her tool belt and draped it over the railing. Then she lay flat on the table. It was time to begin. Jaya looked down at Rose. "All set?" Rose looked up at Jaya. "All set." The girl felt under the robot's head, found the button with her fingers, and pressed it. Click. Rose's body relaxed. Her quiet whirring slowly stopped. Her eyes faded to black. Jad took a deep breath. Then he grasped the robot's head in his hands and twisted until thwip, it popped off. In the smooth socket where the head had just been was another button. Jaya pressed it and the robot's chest opened up. They peered into the hollow chest cavity and saw a tangle of tubes connecting to a grid box. These were the robot's electrical organs. "That's the transmitter," said Jad, pointing. The children reached into the robot's chest, carefully removed a tube and a box, and then set them aside. "That was easy," said Jaya, smiling. "Actually, I think this is the transmitter over here," said Jad, and he removed another box. Then Jaya removed another tube. The boy checked his computer and said, I might have it backwards." A bead of sweat rolled down his forehead as he removed another box. "Wait, I think we should just start over." Jaya nudged her brother out of the way and started plugging parts back into the robot's body. "You're doing it wrong." Jad nudged his sister out of the way and started removing the parts again. "I don't know about you, reader, but I'm a little confused, and so were the children." Pretty soon, Rose's internal parts were strewn across the table, and nobody knew where anything was supposed to go. "Why did you remove so many boxes?" yelled Jaya. "Why did you remove so many tubes?" yelled Jad. The siblings argued for a while. Then they sat quietly for a while. I'm going to show you a picture of Rose during operation times. There she is, being operated on. Yikes. The children were tired and cranky and afraid that they'd never get Rose working again. Jaya slumped against the table and looked up at the ceiling. Then her eyes drifted to the lanterns, dimly glowing above. And then she had an idea. She climbed onto a wooden railing, grabbed one of the lanterns from its hook, and climbed back down. When she held the lantern close to Rose's body, Jad noticed that there were different numbers lightly etched onto each of the internal parts. Now things were starting to make sense. The children quickly removed the correct boxes and tubes. They put the robot back together and they turned her on. Click! Rose's body tensed. Her quiet whirring slowly started. Her eyes began to glow. But she didn't say a word. "Are you okay?" asked Jad. Rose pointed to her mouth. "Can you speak?" said Jaya. Rose shook her head. She can't speak, cried the boy. We must have put something back in the wrong place. Click. The children opened up Rose's body, rearranged some of the internal parts, and then put her back together again. Click. Rose powered up and said, Children, I can now speak, but I cannot move. Click. After hours of trial and error, and with the morning light seeping into the barn, the operation was a success. Rose stood up, scanned her internal parts, and said, Children, you did it. You removed my transmitter. Thank you so much for your help. You're welcome, said Jaya, yawning. Jad checked his computer. I can still see your signal on the map, he said. Your transmitter is still working, so keep it close to you until you leave the farm. And then he stuffed the little device into the robot's tool belt. Children, there is a bit of bad news, said Rose in a serious tone. I know you have been up all night. I am afraid it is time for you both to get ready for school. Chapter 44. The Patient Robot. After being trapped on Hilltop Farm for nearly a year, Rose was now free to run away any time she liked. But without Bright Bill to guide her, she wouldn't make it far. So the robot patiently waited for spring to come and for her son to return so they could begin their long journey home together. Last chapter for the day is titled, chapter 45, titled The Barn Conversations. As winter dragged on, Rose spent more of her time inside with the herd. There were long stretches of quiet. The cows chewed their hay. The robot tapped on the farm computer. The wind gently rattled the windows, and then someone would start talking. Someone else would chime in, and the quiet barn would gradually be overtaken by conversations like these. I am so bored. Tess was staring at the floorboards. I can't wait until spring when I can wander through tall grass and feel warm sunlight on my back. I just hope I won't die of boredom first. Old Annabelle Cow snorted. You young cows are spoiled rotten, she said. Your lives are so easy and you still find things to complain about. Tess rolled her eyes. Yeah, we should be grateful for whatever we've got. You've told us before. Well, you should be grateful for what you've got, said Annabelle. I've lived on other farms, and trust me, you have nothing to complain about. Tess couldn't help but be curious, and she said, What were those other farms like? Oh, I'd rather not discuss them, said Annabelle in a low voice. You see, I witnessed some terrible things on those farms. I am blessed. I was blessed when I was moved here, and I often think about the animals I left behind, and I hope they're okay. The old cow sank into thought for a minute. I know life here isn't perfect, she said at last, but we do have so much to be grateful for. We have our livelihood, and we have this beautiful barn, and we have Rose, said Tess. And we have Rose. Annabelle turned and smiled at the robot in the corner. Rose listens to us and treats us with love and kindness, and she makes our lives as comfortable as she can. We certainly will miss her when she's gone. Rose, why do humans need so much cow's milk? Said Lily as the other calves crowded around her. It was a question they'd all been wondering about. Well, there are billions of humans in the world, explained Rose, and many of them drink milk and combine it with different ingredients to make different foods. What kind of foods? Said another calf. Butter and cheese and yogurt are all made with milk, said Rose. Many desserts are also made with milk. What's a dessert? Someone asked. A dessert is a sweet food eaten at the end of a meal. Popular desserts include cake and custard and ice cream. The only other question that only raised more questions. What is cake? What is custard? And what is ice cream? Rose tried her best to explain these foods to the calves, but it wasn't easy. After all, the robot couldn't even perform a simple act of eating. How could she possibly describe the flavors and sensations of tasting delicious desserts? Lily interrupted. Just tell me this, Rose. When you're older, will our milk be used when we're older, will our milk be used to make desserts? Oops. Yes, said Rose, and the calves smiled. They trotted away, happy in the knowledge that some day they'd help to bring sweet and delicious things into the world. It is almost spring, Rose said to the herd. It is almost time for me to run away, back home to the wilderness. I am sorry that I must leave, but you will all be well cared for when I am gone, I promise. Cows began mooing from their stalls. Don't worry about us, Rose. There's no need to apologize, Rose. We understand why you're running away. Lily poked her head through the railings of her stall and said, I could never run away to the wilderness. I would be way too frightened. I love to roam through the wilderness. I would do it, said Tess. It sounds so exciting. No wilderness for me, thank you very much, said Annabel. I just want a quiet, cozy life. I have plenty of fear in the wilderness. I have plenty to fear in the wilderness, said Rose. However, I have more to fear here. I can never be my true self around humans, and so I must try to return to my home. I only wish I could do it by myself, she went on, but I need help. I could never escape the farm without the children, and I could never find my way home without my son. I felt bad for asking so much of them. Don't feel bad, said Lily. Bright Bill and the children want to help you. They love you. We all do. The farm won't feel the same without you, Rose. But we know you're doing the right thing. The herd agreed with Lily, and throughout the barn, cows quietly nodded their heads. Until next time.